Hey, I'm CJ and welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to explore the Handy M0100, and this is a old Apple mouse that I took and turned into a speech to text button for my computer. And it is absolutely wonderful. I love having a 40-year-old piece of hardware be able to control my computer today. And I think it's honestly really wonderful using this with Whisper, a speech to text application, is just so freaking cool. And I really just want to talk about the internals of this project and what makes it pretty fun, I think. I originally made this because I had a broken finger and I just need to use speech to text for basically everything on my computer. And I built a foot pedal for this, and that was great. And I also then went to the vintage computer fair with my friend Jordan. And while we were there, found some of these mice. I put them on the ground, used my toe on them and whatever. And they worked pretty well as that. And I thought it was hilarious to use it as a foot pedal. But ultimately, really, using it as a portable speech to text button was what I wanted to do. And I went through a few iterations of thinking about this and the design and everything. Initially, I wanted the USB port to stick out the front, and I actually was not going to make it wireless. I was going to have it plug into my computer. But the USB-C does not fit through this port, and I didn't want to modify the mouse. So it meant that I had to go Bluetooth and wireless, which was really cool. Honestly, having it Bluetooth and wireless is pretty amazing because I can just throw it in my backpack when I go travel and still be able to talk to my computer wherever I go. So I mean, in a nutshell, that is what it is. This model in particular is a 1985 mouse, I believe. It has the serial number for a 1985 mouse. And let's take it apart. I made two versions of this. One is a version that I basically 3D printed a bunch of custom internal pieces. But this version is the one that uses the original PCB and everything. So I just unscrewed the bottom. And what we can do is we can slide this top piece kind of out. Let's see if I can do this like that and open it up. And there's a couple clips on the inside. I don't know if you'll be able to see that. And take it apart. And the mouse, there's a little spring that's in there. It goes right there. But this is what the internal of the mouse looks like. And it uses the original button up here. And that has a really awesome click. There's two leads that come off of it here and here that wire into a microcontroller that sits where the trackball originally was. And there's also this battery down here on this corner. And of course, on the back side, we have charging via USB-C on the bottom because, like, duh, where else would it go? And yeah, there's just a microcontroller that sits there and pokes out through that. So this works great, and I'm actually going to show you the original PCB so I don't have to take it apart further because it is quite a tight fit, but this is the original PCB. I don't know, hopefully my camera is going to focus. But we can see the labels for the switch and ground over here, and it just has this button, and if you trace the wires on the back, sure enough, switch and ground go to the switch, and basically I just used those two to plug directly into the microcontroller. It's pretty, it's simple enough. So I'm actually going to show you, I have another mouse here that I've built. This is the one that uses the 3D printed stuff, but I'm going to just pull out the microcontroller real briefly. So microcontroller looks something like this. This is a Seed Studio Zhao microcontroller, and it in particular is the NRF52840. And what I've done is I've soldered to the battery. Hopefully I'm not too close, sorry. I've soldered to the battery, so you have a JST that you can plug a battery in here. And I've also soldered a lead to pins 4 and 6, and that's to connect to the switch. So overall, that's what we have, and that's exactly what's in this little cavity down here. It would go something like that, and those leads would go out. My first design actually was this 3D printed plate. And Mainly, like, I just wanted to have a lot more space to work with. It's like really cramped in there to just try to fit all this like fiddly bits and stuff. So I made this base plate first, and it was kind of my prototyping surface. And I attached a little Omron mouse switch here, and that has a little JST lead off of it as well. So these two kind of just, they just plug together. Let's see. I always don't know what side is the right way. There we go. They just plug together, and that's when you click the switch, it'll actually, do your speech to text for as long as you're holding it. And otherwise, you put the battery in there, and this just kind of plops straight down on the base plate of the mouse. So this would go down something just like that. That's kind of how it works. Pretty simple. You screw it in using the original screw down there. You can plop the microcontroller in this little guy. And this is just a twist lock that I designed to fit nicely in that bottoms thing. You can slot the microcontroller directly in there. And then this just goes in and locks. Super simple. Works really well. So, yeah. I mean, in a nutshell, that's this project. If you want even more information and detail, you can find that information on my workshop blog. I also put out all of the firmware, the 3D printing files. All of that is on my workshop blog if you're curious to check that out. But yeah, overall, I hope you enjoyed watching, and if anything, like, try to give it a shot yourself if you have one of these laying around. But also, there's something really awesome about like utilizing old hardware and making it still useful today. I'm really happy with the original PCB version because it just feels right. I think there's lots of other ways you could make this interesting, and I know there's some other projects to turn these into like proper mice for today. I think that's really cool. So anyhow, appreciate you giving this a watch, and just hope you have a wonderful day and build cool stuff.